let's explore the unsolved mysteries in today's video. The Insect Hospital in Florida. Within the world of insects, observing the behavior of worker ants in Florida has led to a remarkable discovery with significant implications for our understanding of social cognition and biology. Researchers have documented that, in natural conditions, these ant colonies carry out rescue actions for injured members of their own kind. Most notably, they are capable of amputating an infected limb to increase the chances of survival for the wounded individual. This procedure follows a clearly defined sequence. It begins with an inspection of the wound, then a cleaning process, and finally, the removal of the infected appendage using their mandibles, along with careful treatment of the cut site to limit the spread of injury. Observations show that the ants possess the ability to distinguish between wounds that are infected and those that are not. Based on this distinction, they choose the appropriate course of action. If the wound is clean, the ants simply lick the surface to remove any debris. However, if there are signs of necrosis or infection, they proactively amputate the limb at the point where it joins the body. The survival rate for individuals who undergo this intervention is remarkably high, almost equivalent to the outcomes of medical procedures in modern environments. The behavior of Florida's worker ants stands as the only documented case in the animal kingdom, outside of humans, where a species is able to perform such complex medical interventions to save the lives of their peers. In addition to their skills in identifying wounds and performing amputations, these ants also work together closely throughout the care process, helping the injured individual maintain stability and return to normal activity after the procedure. This not only ensures the survival of the affected ant, but also preserves the overall stability of the colony, demonstrating a natural healthcare system rooted in the social organization of insects. This discovery broadens our understanding of adaptive mechanisms and the potential for learning and developing survival strategies within social animal populations. Further research into this behavior may shed light on the evolution of medical support systems and cooperation in the natural world, while also opening new prospects for applications in biology and medicine based on analyzing behavior and simulating natural healing processes. Mysterious skulls and traces of ancient humans. Antarctica is not only a land of eternal ice, but also a place where countless controversial stories about the origins of humanity have surfaced. One recurring topic on research forums and among proponents of ancient theories is the claim that unusually elongated skulls have been discovered on this continent. Some extreme viewpoints suggest that these might be the remains of extraterrestrial beings, or of species that existed before modern humans. Stories like these often capture the public's imagination, but they are entirely lacking in scientific foundation. Upon closer examination of the sources behind these reports of elongated skulls in Antarctica, most turn out to be unverifiable. The supposed archaeologists credited with discovering these skulls do not actually exist, and the locations mentioned in these stories cannot be found in any official geographic documentation of Antarctica. This makes it clear that most of the information circulating on this subject remains pure speculation, with no material evidence ever published by the international scientific community. In contrast to these rumors and unverified hypotheses, an archaeological discovery in 1985 opened up a more practical avenue of research into the presence of humans in Antarctica. On Yamana Beach, part of the South Shetland Islands, Chilean scientists discovered the skeleton of a young woman dating back to the early 19th century. This find raised numerous questions about the history of human habitation in the far south and challenged the traditional belief that Antarctica was a land entirely untouched by human footsteps until the modern era. Some hypotheses suggest that the woman might have been a member of seal hunting expeditions, or perhaps belonged to groups of indigenous people who once ventured down to the Antarctic in their coastal journeys. However, to this day, the true origins of the skeleton remain inconclusive. Even so, the discovery stands as evidence that humans set foot in Antarctica much earlier than previously believed, indicating that the history of exploration and settlement on this frozen continent may be far more complex and prolonged than earlier records have suggested. Amid ongoing speculation about mysterious skulls with no credible evidence, the value of real archaeological discoveries becomes even more apparent. Such findings help broaden our scientific understanding of humanity's capacity for habitation, adaptation, and migration, while also laying the groundwork for deeper research into the history of Antarctica. Ultimately, these discoveries help reconstruct the many missing chapters of mankind's story at the coldest edge of the world. The lost city buried for 1,000 years. Deep within the dense jungles of La Mosquitia in Honduras, the White City once existed only in the legends of native tribes and in the hazy recollections of colonial-era expeditions. The discovery of its first traces did not come through a conventional archaeological dig, but rather from LiDAR imagery that mapped the three-dimensional terrain beneath the thick forest canopy. From above, scientists noticed the presence of artificial shapes, straight lines, massive earthen mounds, and evidence of ancient architecture that would have been nearly impossible to detect from the forest floor. Subsequent field surveys confirmed that these were the remains of a major urban center, with numerous stone structures, plazas, temples, and an array of artifacts made from ceramics and intricately carved stone, along with traces of religious rituals. The volume of artifacts uncovered, as well as the complexity of the site's layout, suggests that this was once the heart of a flourishing civilization, controlling the vast rainforests of eastern Honduras. Artifacts such as stone statues, animal carvings, ceremonial items, and networks of urban roads all point to a rich social life and a highly organized, centralized system of power. Yet, the striking presence of the White City raises a host of unanswered questions. There are no surviving texts, no ancient names, and no continuous cultural traditions to link the site to the present day. It appears that this civilization vanished abruptly from the region's history. Archaeologists can only speculate that the collapse may have been due to environmental changes, disease, or conflict with neighboring communities, but these remain unproven theories. The city's structures have been swallowed by the jungle, its artifacts buried beneath thick layers of earth, turning each excavation into a journey back through an unwritten past. The discovery of the White City through modern technology has not only reshaped our understanding of Honduras's history, but also expanded our perception of ancient civilizations in Central America. It reveals that within these seemingly untamed tropical forests, highly complex societies with their own architectural and cultural achievements once thrived. The mystery of why the White City fell and disappeared continues to puzzle researchers, making it one of the greatest enigmas in Latin American archaeology. The shifting of the Earth's axis and the movement of the crust. Ancient legends of global catastrophes have appeared in many cultures, often revolving around the idea that the Earth once experienced massive upheavals in geography and climate. Beyond folklore, some scientific theories have proposed the possibility of shifts in the Earth's axis or the movement of the planet's crust, triggering events with worldwide consequences. According to the records of several ancient civilizations, there were once events that dramatically altered the shape of the world. These legends often mention ages of great floods, the rise and fall of continents, and the disappearance of civilizations that once flourished on the Earth's surface. In scientific circles, the theory of crustal displacement was introduced by geophysicist Charles Harakbut in the mid-20th century. He suggested that the Earth's outer crust could slide over the underlying mantle, causing the continents to move rapidly in relation to the planet's axis of rotation. Some researchers believe such disruptions could have shifted the geographic positions of continents in a relatively short time, with far-reaching effects on climate, ecosystems, and even the destruction of entire civilizations existing at that time. If the hypothesis of crustal displacement is true, it could explain many of the great mysteries in the Earth's history, particularly the disappearance of prehistoric civilizations like Atlantis. Some researchers have wondered whether such dramatic changes in geography might have caused regions that were once temperate or tropical and ideal for the growth of advanced societies to drift toward the South Pole and become buried beneath ice, as in the case of present-day Antarctica. If this scenario actually occurred, it could account for the mysterious relics and structures found beneath the ice, while also raising the possibility that civilizations never recorded in mainstream history once existed. Although there is not yet enough experimental evidence to confirm that large-scale crustal shifts ever took place, geological surveys, sediment analysis, and studies of ancient magnetic fields are still ongoing. These investigations help scientists better understand the dynamic history of the continents and continue to test the major hypotheses about the formation and transformation of the Earth's landmasses, including the idea that Atlantis may have once existed, only to be swept away beneath the ice of Antarctica. The moat systems and ancient structures of the Amazon. Across the highland regions of Bolivia and Brazil, traces of an ancient system of monumental works have gradually come to light under the impact of modern exploration and research. Satellite imagery and field surveys reveal a network of moats, ditches, canals, and artificial landforms stretching over hundreds of square kilometers, featuring structures in circular, square, or even more complex shapes. Many of these moats possess a depth and scale far beyond the needs of ordinary defense or drainage. They may once have marked the boundaries of settlements, ceremonial centers, or irrigation systems designed to support agriculture. Sediment analysis and samples of charcoal show that many of these constructions date back to a period before the modern Amazon rainforest existed, at a time when the climate of South America was much drier than it is today. This means the ancient inhabitants of the Amazon not only survived by relying on nature, but also organized themselves to build large-scale cities and structures, powerfully altering their environment to adapt to climatic changes and sustain agricultural activities. These findings stand in stark contrast to the old image of the Amazon's native peoples as scattered groups who never practiced large-scale agriculture or made any significant impact on their surroundings. As deforestation expands, more and more of these ancient earthworks continue to be discovered, providing clear evidence that these early communities established intricate networks, perhaps even forming political alliances or far-reaching trade systems. Some researchers have gone so far as to propose the existence of urbanized societies in the Amazon, predating the great civilizations like the Inca, leaving behind a legacy of mysterious earthworks that still puzzle us today. The presence of deep moats, ancient ditches, and the foundations of vanished buildings doesn't just change our understanding of Amazonian history, it also challenges us to rethink human adaptability and development within dense, seemingly impenetrable forests. For hundreds of years, thick jungle growth concealed these achievements, and only with the help of modern science have the secrets of the ancient Amazonian societies begun to surface. Thanks to these discoveries, the region's history is no longer simply the story of isolated tribes, but rather a record of enduring construction, transformation, and growth by communities that once controlled and reshaped their landscape on a grand scale. Children living with monkeys in the jungle. Marina Chapman is one of the rare documented cases illustrating the biological adaptability and behavioral capacity of humans when completely separated from society. According to reports, Chapman was kidnapped as a child and subsequently abandoned in the Colombian rainforest. With no human support, she survived by learning survival skills from a troop of capuchin monkeys. For years, Chapman relied on observation and imitation, mastering foraging techniques, identifying plants, finding water, and navigating the various levels of the forest ecosystem. Studies of feral children have shown that in prolonged isolation, the human central nervous system can still process stimuli from the natural environment. However, without language, communication, or social interaction, abilities such as speech, abstract reasoning, and social behavior become markedly impaired. Chapman is believed to have gradually lost the use of human language, instead adopting vocalizations and behavioral signals similar to those used by primates in her environment. Physiologically, humans can adapt in the short term to deprivation through metabolic regulation, self-preservation reflexes, and the ability to learn essential skills through observation. Chapman learned to select safe foods, recognize signs of danger in the forest, and develop physical coordination suited to her new surroundings. After being found and returned to human society, Chapman continued to adapt by relearning language and social behaviors through psychological rehabilitation and education. Her case has become a significant reference for anthropology, developmental psychology, and human behavioral ecology. It expands our understanding of brain plasticity, behavioral adaptation, and the survival potential of Homo sapiens in circumstances of total social isolation. Chapman's story lends further weight to theories about the interaction between genetics and environment in shaping human behavior, and provides a natural experimental model for the extremes of biological adaptation that a human individual can undergo. Shipwrecked Byzantine stone for church construction off Sicily. Underwater archaeological research off the coast of Sicily has illuminated one of the largest transport operations of the post-Roman era. The discovery of a Byzantine shipwreck, along with hundreds of tons of architectural stone, has enabled scientists to reconstruct the trade routes and building scale of the Mediterranean world in the 6th century. This cargo ship, carrying building materials, broke apart during a storm on its way to Syracuse. All of its columns, slabs, and column bases destined for a new church were buried beneath the sea for 1,500 years. The archaeological recovery began only after a local fisherman accidentally found the strange stones while fishing. The cargo consisted of various elements from long columns and bases to decorative stone panels, indicating that these were not simply raw materials, but prefabricated architectural components, mass-produced and ready for assembly at the destination site. Analysis of marks on the stone and the distribution of the components revealed sophisticated methods of packing, preservation, and loading, reflecting the high level of organization among the stonemasons and merchants of that era. The shipwreck off Sicily also vividly demonstrates the existence of an extensive network for transporting building materials throughout the Mediterranean, a region where cities and major religious centers competed for resources and architectural expertise. The shipwreck data provides further evidence of the expansion of religious construction under Emperor Justinian, a period when churches were erected across reconquered territories to reinforce the power and faith of the empire. Remarkably, archaeologists also identified stones sourced from many different geographic regions, revealing the complexity of a trans-Mediterranean supply chain. These discoveries not only help to reconstruct the history of religious building in the Byzantine era, but also highlight the interplay of commerce, technology, and faith in shaping the architecture of the early Mediterranean world. At the same time, shipwrecked cargoes like the one off Sicily serve as invaluable sources for studying economic fluctuations, climate impacts, and the natural hazards that threatened ancient maritime transport. The Atlantis legend and the global flood event. The legend of Atlantis is not confined to the writings of Plato. It echoes throughout many ancient cultures around the world, particularly in stories about a great flood. Although the details of these legends vary, they share a common theme: the rise and fall of a brilliant civilization destroyed by a catastrophic, worldwide deluge. From the story of the Great Flood in the Bible, to Sumerian myths, to the ancient legends of India, China, the Americas, and Africa, strikingly similar motifs recur: seas rising to engulf the land, sweeping away all the achievements of prehistoric peoples. These tales often feature gods punishing humanity for arrogance, sin, or irredeemable mistakes, resulting in the disappearance of entire societies or civilizations from the face of the earth. Modern archaeological and geological evidence also shows that the world has undergone dramatic changes in sea levels, episodes of melting ice, earthquakes, or volcanic eruptions that have radically altered the environment. This lends support to the theory that ancient civilizations may once have existed in areas now submerged beneath the ocean or buried under Antarctic ice. If a civilization like Atlantis truly was swallowed by a global flood, all material traces could have been swept away or buried under layers of ice or deep-sea sediment, nearly impossible to reach by traditional archaeological means. Nevertheless, geological sediments, microfossils, and unusual climate signatures preserved in ice cores can still provide indirect clues about major cataclysmic events in the distant past. Comparing these ancient legends with modern scientific data not only sheds new light on the Atlantis hypothesis, but also opens up new approaches in the study of human history. While the question of Atlantis' real existence remains unanswered, the idea of a civilization lost to a global disaster continues to inspire scientists to seek out the secrets buried deep beneath Earth's ice and oceans. Greece. In ancient Greece, religion was not merely a matter of personal belief, but served as the foundation for communal life and the broader social value system. Numerous mystery cults flourished, each associated with a deity representing different aspects of existence and the human spirit. The cult of Dionysus is a prime example of how social norms could be transcended through collective rituals. Dionysus was regarded as the god of wine, pleasure, and emotional freedom. Dionysian festivals typically involved drinking wine, communal dancing, and outdoor theatrical performances, creating an atmosphere where people could liberate themselves and awaken a sense of community. These rites were also deeply tied to beliefs about rebirth, transformation, and the creative power of humankind. From a social science perspective, these are rites of passage that allow communities to move beyond rigid psychological boundaries and established order, fostering harmony and creativity. In the cult of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and chastity was honored through coming-of-age rituals for young women. Artemis was not only the protector of forests and wild animals, but also embodied feminine strength, purity, independence, and the community's capacity for self-defense. The initiation rite for girls, most notably the Arctea ceremony, held important social significance, marking the transition from childhood to the status of a full member within the community and helping to maintain cohesion and continuity of traditional values. The organization of such rituals at sacred centers, like the Temple of Artemis at Brauron, also reflected the development of social organization and the importance of collective ceremonial spaces. The cult of the Keberi, less well known but deeply mystical, emerged in Macedonia and spread to other parts of ancient Greece. The Keberi were deities linked to fertility, agriculture, and the safety of seafaring, reflecting the need for security and protection in key livelihoods. The Keberi were also considered patrons of sailors, illustrating the close connection between religious faith and the practical realities of coastal, mercantile, and fishing communities. The rites of this cult were mostly secret, reserved for initiates, highlighting the mystery cult aspect, so characteristic of Greek religion in this era. From an archaeological and anthropological perspective, the mystery cults of Greece reflected not only spiritual needs, but also functioned as engines of social ritual, providing spaces for personal integration, role transitions, and the affirmation of communal values in ancient society. It was this system of rituals, symbols, and forms of organization that contributed to the cultural depth and vitality of Greek civilization through many centuries. The mysterious pyramids of Antarctica. In recent decades, the emergence of striking pyramid-shaped structures amid the Ellsworth Mountains of Antarctica has sparked widespread debate among both the scientific community and enthusiasts of alternative theories. These pyramids, observed in satellite images or during on-site expeditions, possess faces that are almost perfectly flat and pointed summits reminiscent of the famous pyramids of Egypt or Mesoamerica. Their appearance in a frozen land where humans have scarcely ever lived for long periods has raised numerous questions about their origin and meaning. Many theories have been proposed, including the idea that these are relics of an ancient civilization with advanced technology, or traces left by extraterrestrials, or the Anunnaki, who are believed by some to have visited Earth in the distant past. Some suggest that these pyramids might be parts of underground bases beneath the Antarctic ice, built by non-human civilizations to evade detection by modern humanity. However, from a scientific perspective, geologists and Antarctic specialists have conducted surveys, topographical measurements, and geological studies of the pyramids in the Ellsworth Range. Their findings show that these structures are entirely natural, formed through geological uplift, erosion, and the action of glaciers over millions of years. Their pyramid-like shapes are simply a result of weathering mountain peaks sculpted into flat faces and sharp points by ice and wind, not the work of human builders. Topographical mapping beneath the ice using ground-penetrating radar has never found any evidence of artificial constructions or organized underground facilities in the area. Nevertheless, theories about extraterrestrials or ancient lost civilizations continue to circulate vigorously in online forums, social media, and among mystery enthusiasts, adding to the unique allure of Antarctic stories. The contrast between scientific data and human imagination demonstrates that the boundary between reality and legend always exists, while also affirming the role of science in verifying and illuminating mysterious phenomena, even as unconventional theories retain their enduring appeal. Egypt. From the era of the Old Kingdom, the cult of the goddess Isis held a central position in Egyptian spiritual and social life. Isis was regarded as the embodiment of resurrection power, protector of the dead, and played a principal role in funerary rites and the safeguarding of souls. Archaeological and textual evidence shows that rituals associated with Isis shaped the entire process of mummification and the philosophy of rebirth, becoming the ideological foundation running through ancient Egyptian history. Alongside Isis stood Bastet, the cat goddess, often depicted as either a cat or a woman with a cat's head, associated with gentleness, family protection, and defense against destructive forces. Evidence from Bubastis, the principal center of Bastet worship in the Nile Delta, demonstrates that reverence for cats became an essential element of Egyptian spiritual and everyday life, as seen in countless cat statues, pottery, amulets, and the many mummified cats buried alongside their owners. The Bastet festival, described in Greek historical accounts, was among the largest and most crowded celebrations in Egypt, drawing tens of thousands of pilgrims each year. Over centuries, the influence of these cults spread far beyond Egypt's borders, extending throughout the Mediterranean and into the Roman world. After Alexander the Great's conquest of Egypt, the worship of Isis was swiftly adopted and assimilated into the Greco-Roman religious system. Temples dedicated to Isis sprang up from Greece and Asia Minor to Europe and even England. This expansion demonstrates the remarkable adaptability and integration of Egyptian symbols within the diverse cultures of the Mediterranean, creating a network of beliefs that transcended political and linguistic boundaries. The themes of resurrection, healing, and protection attached to these goddesses have endured for millennia, serving as a bridge between the ancient religious systems of East and West. Their influence is visible in art, material culture, and the development of later religious rites in Rome and Europe. Today, ongoing research into the cults of Isis and Bastet continues to illuminate the cultural strata linking Egypt with the wider Mediterranean world, while deepening our understanding of religion, art, and human society from prehistory through the modern era. The ancient golden airplanes of Colombia. Gold artifacts from the Quimbaya culture, discovered in the region of Colombia, display aerodynamic shapes with many features reminiscent of modern airplanes, such as horizontal wings, vertical tails, and streamlined bodies. There are quite a number of these objects, mostly small in size and suited for use as pendants or decorative items. Archaeologists have dated these artifacts to around 500 to 1000 AD, a period that marked the peak of the Quimbaya civilization in the northern Andes of South America. Analysis of their craftsmanship shows that the Quimbaya people had achieved a high level of metallurgical skill. Their gold products were typically made using the lost wax casting method, which allowed for detailed, finely crafted designs. Yet, these artifacts have sparked considerable debate over their symbolic meaning. The prevailing view among archaeologists is that these gold objects represent stylized animals, possibly birds, insects, or native fish, reflecting an artistic and symbolic tradition rather than literal depictions of flying machines. A smaller group, largely from outside the mainstream scientific community, particularly those interested in ancient technology or extraterrestrial contact, hypotheses argue that these artifacts reflect a memory of airplanes or flying craft from a lost civilization, or perhaps even serve as evidence of contact with beings from beyond Earth. However, there is no archaeological, historical, or technical evidence to support these claims. From a scientific standpoint, geometric analysis and comparison with local fauna suggest that all the supposed airplane features can be explained through biological or artistic perspectives. Elements such as the wings, triangular tails, and streamlined bodies can all be traced to native species of fish, birds, or insects. Thus, these objects stand as evidence of the symbolic thinking and aesthetic sophistication of ancient South American indigenous art, while also highlighting the complexities involved in interpreting ancient symbols in the absence of full historical context. The controversy surrounding the Quimbaya golden airplanes is a classic example of how archaeological discoveries can sometimes be interpreted far beyond the boundaries of scientific evidence, giving rise to captivating but unproven theories. In reality, the Quimbaya artifacts remain an important subject of research for understanding symbolic cognition and metallurgical technique among pre-Columbian cultures in South America. The mysterious city in Sumatra. The story of the lost city of Dalu in Sumatra is linked to the name of explorer Alfred Isaac Middleton, a figure from the 19th century who is described in many unverified sources as one of the first people to search for strange ruins deep within the rainforests of Southeast Asia. According to oral accounts and scattered notes, Middleton organized expeditions into uncharted lands with the aim of seeking traces of an ancient city whose architecture surpassed traditional boundaries, featuring stone structures said to resemble spaceships or flying objects. Images and sketches related to the city of Dalu occasionally appear on unofficial archaeological forums, depicting massive stones arranged in lines and monolithic sculptures carved with unusual motif. Some photos show elongated, angular structures that sometimes evoke aerodynamic models. However, to this day, there has been no scientific survey, field report, or archaeological documentation verifying the existence of Dalu or Middleton's expeditions. Artifacts said to be from the city have not been authenticated or included in Indonesia's official archaeological collections. From a scholarly standpoint, researchers believe that many legends about lost cities such as Dalu often reflect the spirit of exploration and fascination with unknown civilizations that characterized the 19th century, a time when adventure and technology were transforming the way people saw the world. Descriptions of spaceship-like architecture may result from a combination of modern imagination and naturally occurring stone formations, or perhaps local ruins reinterpreted through a postmodern lens. To this day, the city of Dalu exists only in unverified accounts, a prime example of the boundary between scientific archaeology and modern legend. What remains of Alfred Isaac Middleton's journeys mostly serves as inspiration for the ongoing search for lost cities in the jungles of Southeast Asia, while raising questions about the reliability of unofficial sources and the limits of field research in remote environments like the Sumatran rainforest. Military bases and strange structures beneath the ice. In recent years, advances in remote sensing technology and satellite imagery analysis have revealed a number of unusual structures buried deep beneath the Antarctic ice. Some images, gathered from commercial satellites and international observation programs, show the emergence of geometric installations, long straight lines, and clusters of architectural forms arranged in an orderly fashion. These structures are large in scale, isolated amid the frozen wilderness, with no sign of any scientific research stations or known legal activities nearby. Theories about shelters or secret military bases quickly surfaced, especially against a backdrop of ongoing global security tensions and predictions of new worldwide conflicts. Some suggest these might be facilities built in preparation for a possible World War I-II places of refuge for powerful groups or emergency command centers for any eventuality. Notably, the locations and size of these structures have led many observers to draw parallels to rumored secret Nazi bases in Antarctica, dating back to the end of World War II. Yet so far, there is no concrete evidence that any modern nation or international military organization has actually constructed or operated such underground bases beneath the Antarctic ice. The available information is primarily derived from satellite images with limited resolution, making it difficult to determine the origin, function, or period of construction of these facilities. From a scientific standpoint, the military base and shelter theories still require verification through on-site investigation, historical data comparison, and confirmation from international organizations overseeing Antarctic activities under the Antarctic Treaty. The emergence of strange structures beneath the ice raises not only questions about their intended use, but also concerns over transparency and international cooperation in one of the planet's least explored regions. Antarctica remains a land of unsolved mysteries, where every new discovery has the potential to reshape our understanding of history, technology, and the possible existence of modern or ancient civilizations. The Amazonian short-eared dog. In the context of the Amazon rainforest's ecosystem, where many animal species remain largely unknown, the documentation of the Amazon short-eared dog caring for its pups in the wild has provided an important new chapter in the zoological studies of South America. These images were captured using automated camera traps placed deep in the old-growth forests along the Amazon basin's riverbanks, where contact between humans and wildlife is virtually non-existent. The footage shows a mother dog moving carefully through dense vegetation, transporting her pups with her mouth from one hiding place to another, while also licking, cleaning, protecting, and teaching them how to adapt to their surroundings. Direct observation of parental care behaviors in this species had never been recorded before, since the Amazonian wild dog is extremely elusive, avoiding disturbed areas and only appearing briefly in sporadic camera trap images over several decades. According to researchers, the Amazon short-eared dog represents a distinct evolutionary branch of the canid family in South America, with secretive habits, living mainly alone or in small groups, and feeding primarily on small animals, forest fruits, and insects. Genetic analysis reveals that this species is not closely related to domestic dogs or South American wolves, but possesses unique morphological and physiological traits suited to dense tropical forest, short, dark fur, rounded ears, flexible limbs, and an excellent ability to navigate environments filled with obstacles. Documenting the pup-rearing behavior of the Amazonian wild dog not only broadens our understanding of social behavior among South America's wild animals, but also helps to identify key survival factors valuable for conservation efforts, especially as the species faces extinction risks from deforestation and habitat loss. This sequence of images stands as a rare and original source, guiding further studies into genetics, population ecology, and the interactions of small predators within the Amazon's ecosystem. Additionally, biologists note that understanding the development, social structure, range, and mother-offspring bonds of this species will help build a foundation for conservation biology concerning elusive forest-dwelling animals of South America, ultimately contributing to the protection of species whose ecological roles are still not fully understood. Atlantis beneath the Antarctic ice. The southernmost region of the Earth has long been at the center of major theories about human history, as researchers have detected unusual structures buried hundreds of meters deep beneath Antarctica's ice. These structures not only spark heated debate within the scientific community, but also fuel speculation that they might be the remnants of Atlantis, the legendary civilization that humanity has never been able to confirm. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, was the first to recount the legend of Atlantis in his dialogues. He described a society that far surpassed its era, with a seat of power built in a concentric circular design, its islands linked by canals and waterways, forming a complex transportation network around the central city. There, nature was abundant, rare resources were plentiful, and buildings shone as if made from otherworldly materials. Plato emphasized that this society reached the pinnacle of technology and organization, but its prosperity led to arrogance and a loss of fundamental moral principles. In the end, the gods chose to punish Atlantis, sinking it beneath the sea and turning a once glorious city into an eternal enigma. Based on Plato's description, if the hypothesis of Atlantis under Antarctic ice were ever proven, the scientific and historical communities would be forced to rewrite the entire story of human development. Verifying the existence of a prehistoric civilization with capabilities far beyond anything we currently imagine would not only reshape our understanding of the past, but also raise profound questions about human adaptability, creativity, and the collapse of societies in the face of natural or cosmic upheavals. However, every attempt to excavate or survey these structures under Antarctic ice faces immense obstacles. The harsh environment with extreme cold, ever-shifting and deforming ice sheets, coupled with technological limits on archaeological and subglacial exploration, renders direct access and analysis of such artifacts nearly impossible at present. Scientists are compelled to rely on indirect methods like ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery, or digital modeling to reconstruct a history that remains largely obscured. For now, Atlantis beneath the Antarctic ice remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries, fueling endless debate and new theories. The mysterious pyramids of Peru. Satellite imagery from 1976 in the Madre de Dios region of southeastern Peru sparked major debate among archaeologists and geologists when orbital photographs revealed numerous pyramid-shaped structures rising from the Amazon jungle. These symmetrical earth and stone formations, aligned in discernible rows beneath the vegetation, immediately raised the question of whether ancient architectural remains long forgotten or buried by the natural environment for thousands of years might still be hidden there. Once word of these structures spread, numerous expeditions and archaeological experts carried out fieldwork using topographic mapping, soil analysis, and searches for artificial traces. The results showed that most of the pyramid-like structures were actually products of natural processes, weathering, erosion, and unique geological layering of the South American rainforest. Some seemingly artificial shapes turned out to be the result of converging physical factors such as water flow, floods, sediment deposits, and the dense growth of vegetation, all of which combined to produce balanced cross-sections visible from above. Yet, not all of the structures can be fully explained by natural laws. There remain some anomalies in the shapes, distribution, and scale of these earth and stone blocks, which researchers have not completely ruled out as possibly modified or influenced by ancient human hands. Some experts have proposed the use of LiDAR scanning through the forest canopy in combination with stratigraphic archaeology to better determine whether layers of buried ruins lie beneath, noting that many Amazon basin sites have yielded evidence of ancient earthworks, such as moats, foundations, or agricultural terraces built by pre-Columbian civilizations. The discovery of pyramid-like structures via satellite imaging has not only accelerated the use of remote sensing in tropical archaeology, but also broadened our view of Amazonian history. It suggests the region may once have been home to large, organized societies that built substantial works, their traces erased over time by jungle growth and shifting terrain. Each new survey adds to the still incomplete historical mosaic, while also sparking new theories about social development, architecture, and the adaptability of ancient South Americans in a challenging environment. The deep ocean's acidic waters. At depths beyond 4,000 meters, zones of acidified water are spreading at a pace never before recorded in the history of oceanographic research. Measurements of pH and chemical analysis at numerous international monitoring stations show that this phenomenon is no longer isolated. It has now been observed in nearly all the world's major oceans. In these areas, seawater pH has dropped below the threshold necessary to maintain stable calcium carbonate compounds, leading to the ongoing dissolution of shells and organic mineral structures. Many species of mollusks, deep-sea corals, and benthic microorganisms have experienced sudden population declines, with some groups wiped out entirely as they can no longer build protective biological structures in such an acidic environment. The mechanism behind the formation of deep ocean acidic zones is directly linked to the increase in atmospheric CO2s generated by human activity, particularly from energy production, agriculture, transportation, and heavy industry. CO2s permeates the ocean surface, dissolving and spreading into deeper waters through large-scale currents like those in the North Atlantic and Southern Ocean. This dissolved CO2s forms carbonic acid, gradually lowering seawater pH at both surface and deep levels. The circulation of deep water masses within the ocean's great conveyor systems further enables acidic water to reach the seafloor areas that had been considered stable for millions of years. Joint scientific forecasts by climate and marine biology research centers indicate that by the end of the 21st century, acidified waters could occupy up to 50% of the ocean's volume. If that occurs, not only would deep-sea ecosystems be impacted, but the entire marine food chain could face cascading effects. Benthic organisms from bacteria and mollusks to predatory fish would be at risk of extinction or forced to migrate to more stable areas. The chemical composition of seawater would also shift, affecting its ability to absorb and exchange oxygen and CO2, with direct consequences for the global atmospheric cycle. Many scientists describe these impacts as a true turning point in Earth's environmental evolution. For the first time, the deep ocean floor, long considered the last buffer zone of the planet's ecosystem, is changing on a scale that marine life cannot keep pace with. Beyond the threat of mass extinction, researchers warn of the possible emergence of entirely new ecosystems, governed by unfamiliar chemical rules never before seen in the geological past. Deciphering the effects of deep ocean acidification is now at the forefront of international research programs, aiming to forecast risks and propose solutions for preserving marine environments for future generations. Mammoth fossil discovery in Mississippi. In the summer of 2024, at a small creek in rural Mississippi, a mammoth tusk fossil over 2 meters long and weighing roughly 270 kilograms was discovered by an amateur archaeologist after water levels dropped. This is the first time such a large specimen has been found in the area, marking an important step in identifying the mammoth populations that once moved through the southern United States. Soon after its discovery, state geologists and paleontologists examined the site, using specialized equipment to extract and preserve the fossil. Initial analysis determined that the tusk belonged to a Colombian mammoth, an ancient elephant species that lived in North America from the late Pleistocene, about 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. Unlike mastodon fossils, which are more common in the region, mammoth remains are rare. This raises new questions about the ecology, migration routes, and intermingling of large elephant populations in prehistoric times. Scratches and markings on the tusk indicate it came from an adult that once lived in open grasslands and sparse forests, a habitat shaped by cold, humid climates. Clay and mud adhering to the tusk preserved ancient pollen grains and plant fragments, enabling isotope analysis to reconstruct the local environment and climate during the mammoth's lifetime. These data help test theories about vegetation changes and their effects on mammoth diets and seasonal migrations over thousands of years. The presence of this fossil in Mississippi supports the view that Colombian mammoth populations once ranged much farther south, adapting their habits and territory in response to geological and climatic shifts. This discovery also lays the groundwork for interdisciplinary studies in genetics, paleobiology, and archaeology, helping clarify the causes of extinction and the roles played by both humans and natural factors at the end of the Ice Age. Researchers plan to conduct radiometric dating to determine the tusk's age, analyze its microscopic structure, and reconstruct the last migration of mammoth herds in North America. The find opens up new archaeological possibilities in Mississippi, a region previously overlooked on the map of ancient elephant fossils, and raises further questions about whether more mammoth remains might still be hidden in the clay and sediment layers of the American South, awaiting discovery. The Bronze Age supercivilization in Europe. Modern satellite data and topographical surveys have revealed the existence of a vast system of ancient fortresses never before seen in Central and Southeastern Europe, hinting at a supercivilization that flourished for 4 centuries during the Bronze Age. This network of megaforts comprises more than 100 interconnected fortified sites, with long roads linking urban centers, production areas, and surrounding villages. Each fortress was built with moats, earth ramparts, multi-layered defensive lines, as well as residential buildings, storage facilities, temples, and ceremonial spaces. Some of these forts covered tens of square kilometers, demonstrating an advanced level of organization, social governance, and construction technique. By comparing archaeological finds, such as glazed ceramics, metal tools, plant and animal remains, and traces of daily life, researchers have found a remarkable degree of technical, aesthetic, and cultural uniformity across the forts, even when they are separated by hundreds of kilometers. This suggests that the ancient communities in this region did not develop in isolation, but instead formed a tightly linked network of exchange and cooperation. The roads between megaforts not only facilitated travel, but also served as trade corridors for moving agricultural goods, building materials, and even the spread of ideas and religious beliefs. One notable feature is the close proximity of the largest fortresses on average, only about 80 kilometers apart, allowing for easy movement, commerce, and refuge in times of conflict. Many scholars believe this structure reflects a highly centralized political system, possibly even a unified alliance or empire that controlled all of Central and Southeastern Europe from around 1600 to 1200 BCE. Evidence suggests this civilization reached a peak in social organization, agriculture, craftsmanship, metallurgy, and long-distance interaction with contemporary cultures in the Near East, Egypt, and even the Mediterranean. Yet, around 1200 BCE, the entire megafort network collapsed abruptly. Once crowded cities were abandoned within just a few decades. Surrounding villages fell silent, and all the roads, farmlands, and defenses ceased to function as the fortresses fell into ruin. The cause of this sudden downfall remains a mystery. Hypotheses range from climate change and prolonged drought to internal conflict, invasions, or epidemic disease, but no clear evidence has confirmed any single explanation. The discovery of this Bronze Age super-civilization is transforming traditional views of European history, showing that the continent once had a large-scale, interconnected urban network that rivaled the ancient centers of the world in complexity and development. The ruins that remain today are not only material evidence of prehistoric organizational and creative abilities, but also a reminder of the fragility of any civilization in the face of major natural or social upheaval. The ancient hill people of India. Recent archaeological surveys along India's Konkan coast have led to an important discovery, shedding light on a previously obscure chapter in the subcontinent's human development. On rocky hillsides, researchers uncovered hundreds of petroglyphs, rock carvings, dating back approximately 12,000 years. These images depict large animals such as elephants, rhinoceroses, crocodiles, along with scenes of human activity and daily life. Remarkably, there is no evidence in this area of permanent architectural structures such as houses, walls, or organized settlements. The absence of traces of agriculture or cultivation systems further suggests that the people who once lived here were mobile hunter-gatherers rather than members of an urban or settled agricultural society. Nonetheless, the number and intricacy of these carvings indicate the existence of a community with a relatively stable and organized social structure, deeply connected to its environment over long periods. The petroglyphs not only reflect daily life and beliefs, but also provide a valuable record of India's prehistoric flora and fauna and the early human capacity for observation and artistic expression. The fact that the carvings have retained their original form after tens of thousands of years attests to their special spiritual or social significance for the ancient community. Yet, because no settlement or urban remains have been found, scholars still debate whether this was a sedentary civilization or simply a stopover for nomadic groups in their generations-long search for food. This ambiguity continues to raise questions about the transition from hunting societies to agriculture and the earliest formation of permanent communities in the Indian subcontinent. The submerged prehistoric city in America. Beneath the murky waters of the Gulf of Mexico, off the coast of New Orleans, lies a hypothesis that has attracted considerable attention among researchers: the possible existence of a prehistoric city submerged more than 12,000 years ago during the Late Ice Age. This theory was proposed by amateur archaeologist George Gill, based on a series of unusual phenomena in the area, especially the long-standing accounts of local fishermen who often haul up square-cut granite blocks, unlike any natural stones found along the Louisiana and Mississippi coasts. Granite is rare in the region's geology, and the fact that most of these stones have flat surfaces and sharp, regular edges has fueled speculation that they were once building blocks for a man-made structure. George Gill argues that these stones are not isolated finds, but could be remnants of a large urban complex, swallowed by rising sea levels at the end of the Ice Age, a period marked by global climate shifts and melting glaciers. Field reports indicate that certain areas of the seafloor show clusters of granite blocks arranged in patterns that more closely resemble human construction than natural erosion or landslides. The theory becomes even more intriguing when some claim that among the sunken architecture lies a massive underwater pyramid. According to local fishermen, any electronic devices or compasses passing through this area malfunction or lose signal entirely similar to reports from the Bermuda Triangle. These descriptions have led to speculation about a strong electromagnetic field emanating from the site, raising questions about the construction techniques, materials, and intentions of the ancient civilization responsible. While field observations and local legends provide tantalizing details, most of the scientific community remains cautious. Many geologists and archaeologists believe the granite blocks could be ballast stones or remnants from Spanish colonial shipwrecks, as granite was commonly used for ship ballast or temporary port construction. Furthermore, the Gulf of Mexico has been a major shipping route for centuries, and ancient shipwrecks could explain the anomalous presence of these stones. Modern geological surveys using sonar and radar have only identified material anomalies, with no definitive evidence of large-scale constructions, such as pyramids or ancient cities. Harsh environmental conditions, strong currents, thick sediment layers, and the vast expanse of the Gulf all present challenges to exploration and excavation, resulting in a lack of direct evidence for the submerged city hypothesis. Nonetheless, the scientific value of the story does not depend on definitively proving the existence of an ancient city, but rather on the questions it raises about the peopling of the Americas, changing landscapes, and the possibilities offered by underwater archaeology. If the granite blocks do indeed represent the remains of an ancient construction, it would force a complete reassessment of the development of American civilizations, the arrival of early populations, and the effects of global climate change on the fate of ancient cultures. While the final answer remains elusive, the story of the sunken city in the Gulf of Mexico continues to inspire researchers and archaeology enthusiasts worldwide, serving as a testament to the complexity and mystery of prehistoric human history. The sunken kingdom off the coast of India. The use of sonar technology to survey the seabed off the Gulf of Cambay, India, has led to the discovery of large structures buried deep beneath layers of silt, including what appear to be the foundations of palaces, temples, and other orderly traces of ancient architecture. The data reveals the presence of a vast construction complex stretching for kilometers, with layouts and proportions that are difficult to attribute to natural causes. Analysis of sediment, pottery shards, and some organic artifacts found in the area has yielded radiocarbon dates of up to 9,500 years ago, making it older than any known civilization on the Indian subcontinent, or indeed, most recorded civilizations worldwide. If these results are fully verified, this could be one of the oldest cities ever built by humankind. The Cambay discovery has sparked intense debate among scientists. Some scholars and archaeologists remain skeptical, arguing that these geometric stone blocks may be natural geological phenomena or structures formed by centuries of marine currents and sedimentation. However, independent researchers such as Graham Hancock and certain Indian specialists believe that geophysical evidence and recovered artifacts show many similarities with human-made architecture, particularly in the site's deliberate layout and the traces of ancient habitation preserved in the sediment. The prevailing explanation is that this civilization once developed along a coastal plain, only to be submerged when sea levels rose at the end of the Ice Age, burying everything beneath silt and seawater for thousands of years. This view is consistent with widespread legends of lost prehistoric civilizations overwhelmed by global floods, a motif found in many ancient cultures' flood myths. Although many international experts now call for further interdisciplinary surveys and deeper investigation using modern equipment, the Cambay discovery has already opened up major questions about the diversity and sophistication of ancient civilizations, challenging traditional theories of humanity's origins and development. If these findings are widely confirmed, the sunken kingdom off India's coast will not only remain a great archaeological mystery, but also become a vital key to understanding world history and large-scale environmental changes in the distant past. Mysterious natural phenomena. Antarctica is not just a repository of Earth's hidden history, it is also a land of unexplained natural phenomena. Among the most fascinating mysteries to captivate the international scientific community is the sudden appearance and disappearance of massive black holes known as polynyas. These are vast open areas of water that abruptly form in the midst of thick, unbroken ice, exposing the sea surface in regions otherwise covered by perpetual ice. The first polynyas were recorded in the 1970s, causing amazement because of their scale, some spanning tens of thousands of square kilometers, almost as large as a gigantic freshwater lake. What's especially remarkable is that these holes can vanish entirely after a time, only to reappear decades later, following no obvious pattern. Despite a variety of theories, no explanation has yet been fully accepted to account for the mechanisms behind their formation and unpredictable cycles. Some scientists believe polynyas are linked to powerful convection processes between deep and surface waters, or the action of strong winds and unique ocean currents in Antarctica. However, new data points to the possibility that geothermal activity beneath the ice or unusual variations in heat from the Earth's crust could play a critical role in forming these mysterious openings. Others suggest that changes in pressure, the movement of massive ice sheets, or other geological processes might also contribute. It is the mysterious, sudden, and large-scale nature of these polynyas that has raised so many questions about the physical, chemical, and geological processes taking place beneath the Antarctic ice. Continued monitoring, data collection, and the application of new technologies in studying these events may not only help unravel the secrets of the southernmost environment, but also offer important clues about the dynamics of subglacial structures and the history of global climate change. The Harakbut face in the Amazon. Hidden deep within the Amazonian rainforest of Peru, the Harakbut face emerges solemnly from a cliff, standing as a silent emblem in the heart of untamed nature. This face is not only a strange natural phenomenon, but also lies at the center of many legends and religious rituals of the Harakbut people, one of the oldest indigenous groups in the Madre de Dios region. For the Harakbut, the image of the giant face carved into the rock is far more than a geological curiosity. It carries a sacred meaning. According to the oral traditions of this community, the face represents an ancestral deity or holy warriors tasked with protecting the rainforest from the intrusion of outsiders. The community's most important rituals and festivals are all tied to the presence of this stone face, reflecting a deep connection between people and the natural world, as well as reverence for the supernatural forces believed to inhabit the area. What makes the Harakbut face particularly remarkable is that, to this day, scientists have been unable to determine its precise origin or how it was created. Some theories suggest the face might have formed naturally over thousands of years of weathering, yet the symmetry of its features and the vividness of its expression lead many to believe it must be the result of human intervention in ancient times. Whether natural or man-made, the Harakbut face has become a subject of interdisciplinary study, drawing the attention of archaeologists, anthropologists, and geologists alike, and stands as a living testament to the interplay between indigenous beliefs and the landscape itself. Recent research has also revealed that legends of giant stone faces are not unique to a single location, but may appear at various sites across the Amazon, though most have long been hidden by dense jungle or eroded by time. For the Harakbut, this face is more than just a symbol of their ancestors. It serves as a constant reminder of their responsibility to protect the ancient forest, to preserve their traditional way of life, and to honor the roots of all cultural and spiritual values. In the modern era, as the Amazon faces increasing pressure from logging, poaching, and environmental change, the image of the Harakbut face has taken on even greater meaning, standing as a symbol of the enduring bond between humans and nature, and of the thousands of years of indigenous culture that have never been fully subdued by the passage of time. The prehistoric garbage pit that changed London's history. Recent archaeological discoveries on the outskirts of London have revealed a cultural sediment layer never previously recorded, fundamentally changing our understanding of the city's early development. During excavation, researchers uncovered a prehistoric refuse pit containing hundreds of pottery shards, stone tools, animal bones, and remnants of daily activity. Dating analysis indicates these artifacts are between 6,000 and 5,000 years old, corresponding to Britain's Neolithic era. The site's significance lies not only in the number of artifacts, but also in how the area was used. Evidence suggests it was more than a simple dumping ground. It may have served as a space for community rituals or collective ceremonies. Milk pots, cooking vessels, and food preparation tools provide a glimpse into daily life and reveal that ritual activities occurred here long before the Romans arrived. This discovery forces historians to rethink London's origins. For centuries, it was believed that the city's history began with the Romans, who built Londinium in 47 AD. However, new archaeological evidence shows the area was settled, populated, and home to ceremonial communities thousands of years earlier. The existence of such a large ceremonial refuse pit underscores London's special importance for ancient British communities. While no permanent settlement structures have yet been found, the excavated cultural layers suggest this was a frequent stopping place or gathering center for prehistoric peoples. This, in turn, enriches our understanding of the social networks and exchanges among prehistoric European groups. In this way, the ancient garbage pit is not just a trove of material culture and daily life, it is a memory trace, revealing the deep history of London and opening new avenues of research into urbanization, culture, and the evolution of communities on the British Isles since the distant past. The mysterious fang-shaped stone. Geological and archaeological surveys in the northern highlands of Peru have identified the presence of a large stone block bearing prehistoric carvings featuring abstract motifs alongside the prominent detail of two symmetrical fangs. The site is located at an elevation of more than 3,000 meters in a rarely visited area belonging to the cloud forest ecosystem of the northern Andes. Researchers mapped and measured the stone in detail, identifying spiral motifs, circles, and wavy lines combined with a striking pair of fangs clearly depicting the feline motif, a central symbol in pre-Inca indigenous beliefs. By comparing with artifacts and reliefs from neighboring regions such as Chavin and Kupiznik, it's clear that the fang motif appeared widely in Andean prehistoric art, often associated with rituals of fertility, seasonal cycles, or supernatural power. The relative dating of soil and rock samples around the site, along with the stylistic features that predate the advent of writing, suggests that the stone likely dates to around 200 BC or earlier. The presence of a major carved monument in such an isolated region, far from the classic centers of Inca power, reveals a network of diverse indigenous communities that developed independent foundations of religious belief and artistic expression from a very early period. Beyond its religious symbolism, the fang-shaped stone offers material for studying cultural transitions, illustrating how artistic motifs spread from pre-Inca times to later civilizations. Some researchers believe that the repeated appearance of feline fangs in multiple locations proves the intermediary role of native ritual systems in establishing shared mythology and symbols among the Andean peoples, even before the rise of large centers like Chavin or the later Inca. Alongside other religious artifacts found in the region, the fang stone expands our understanding of ancient Andean community networks and raises new hypotheses about cultural and religious development before the emergence of highly organized states. Further study of sediment layers, carving marks, and site connections may shed more light on the origins of power symbols in pre-Inca society. Neolithic Europe. In the cultural landscape of Neolithic Europe, massive stone monuments like Avabri played a central role in spiritual and social life, even though their original meaning remains the subject of much debate. Avabri, which features the largest stone circle complex in Europe, was built around 2500 to 2000 BCE in southern England. It stands out not only for its scale but also for its organizational complexity, as demonstrated by the process of selecting, transporting, and erecting stone blocks weighing many tons. Stone circles like Avebury are often arranged alongside earth avenues, ditches, and marker posts aligned with the sun, moon, or special astronomical events. This suggests a close relationship between architecture, religious belief, and astronomical knowledge in Neolithic communities. Some theories propose these sites served as ceremonial spaces, where communities performed rituals linked to agricultural cycles, seasonal transitions, or the worship of deities representing natural forces. Archaeological sites at Avebury and the surrounding region have also yielded many artifacts, as well as animal and human remains, indicating that this was once a center for complex rituals, possibly involving sacrifice, community gatherings, or activities connecting the human and divine worlds. However, there are no written records or clear symbols left behind to fully decode the religious nature, beliefs, or cults that once operated here. Many archaeologists believe that Avebury, together with nearby monuments such as Stonehenge and Silbury Hill, formed a ceremonial network, evolving and adapting over many generations that reflected the spiritual, communal, and cosmological development of prehistoric Europeans. The existence of these enormous structures stands as powerful evidence of a sophisticated system of beliefs and mystery cults, even as their secrets remain unsolved by modern science, and continue to deepen our understanding of society and spirituality during the Neolithic era. Towns and cities submerged by geological change and human activity. Beneath the waters of many lakes, seas, and oceans around the world, the ruins of once thriving cities still rest within layers of sediment, living testimony to the long-term impact of geological shifts and human intervention in the natural environment. Every region, every culture, has left a distinctive record of how communities adapted or failed to adapt to natural disasters, as well as the consequences of water management decisions and large-scale infrastructure projects. Mardale, a small village in northern England, was completely submerged in the 1930s when authorities built a dam to create a vast reservoir for Manchester. The foundations of houses, churches, and old stone walls only resurface in dry years when the water level drops, reminding us of a community that flourished for centuries before disappearing almost overnight as a result of modern urban planning. In Lake Titicaca on the Bolivian High Plateau, Underwater archaeology has documented the ruins of the ancient city of Tana and other pre-Inca architectural sites. When lake levels rose about 1,000 years ago, many monuments were submerged, but in the process, cultural layers were preserved intact, providing new data on highland climate change as shifting waters forced centers of power to move or dissolve. Kova, a small island in Turkey, was once a hub of commerce and the world's first federal democracy. Centuries of development ended abruptly with a series of devastating earthquakes in the 2nd century CE, which toppled the island's cities and left them submerged. Even today, the remains of stone-paved streets, ancient steps, house foundations, and rock-cut tombs still rest beneath the bay, offering a direct window into the fate of ancient cities lost to seismic upheaval. On the English coast, the medieval port city of Dunwich was once a bustling centre, but it gradually vanished as the sea encroached and massive storms battered the coastline throughout the 13th century. The remains of churches, streets, and ancient cemeteries now lie buried beneath the North Sea, with only a small part left on land, a reminder of how fragile coastal communities can be in the face of nature's unpredictable power. Likewise, ancient Mediterranean cities such as Aulis and Phanagoria were eventually lost to earthquakes, rising sea levels, or shifts in major river courses. Notably, Phanagoria, once the largest Greek city on the Black Sea, was partly submerged by landslides and water level changes, leading to the collapse of a commercial and religious hub that had endured for centuries. These examples record not only the constant flux of the environment, but also the degree to which civilizations have depended on their control of water, climate, and landscape. The loss of these ancient cities offers invaluable archaeological data, helping to reconstruct the scale of past disasters and warning us about the consequences of modern climate change and today's powerful impact on nature. If you find these mysterious stories fascinating, please leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next adventures. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.